So, Tony Robbins recently sat down for this epic 2-hour conversation on the Diary of a CEO, and he laid out his entire vision for the decade ahead, and more importantly, how to master your own mind to conquer it. We've boiled that whole thing down into the most critical, must-know takeaways. Let's dive in. Right out of the gate, Tony hits us with a pretty stark warning. He's convinced that the next 10 years are going to be a time of just immense pressure and chaos that will, in his words, literally break people. I mean, that's a huge claim, right? And it really sets the stage for everything else he talks about. Okay, so if the future is going to be that intense, the big question becomes, how do you get ready for it? What are the tools? What's the mindset you need to not just get through it, but to actually come out on top because of it? And that's exactly what we're going to unpack right now. Now, what Tony says is that the real test here isn't all the crazy stuff happening outside of us. AI, politics, the economy, all that. Nope. The real fight, he says, is happening right inside our own minds. It's all about how we choose to respond to all that chaos. So here's the core idea. The pressure isn't the real problem. The real problem is how we're wired to automatically react to it. We're basically up against our own brain's ancient programming, a system that was built for, surviving in the wild, not for thriving in the world we live in today. And this brings us to a really, really important point. Our minds have a primary goal, but it's probably not what you think it is. It's not designed to make you successful or to help you hit your goals. Its number one job is way more basic. Just keep you comfortable and keep you alive. So all this old wiring creates what Tony calls our default reactions. What are those? Well, think of them like these automatic little programs that are always running in the background of your mind. They get installed during stressful times, a lot of it from when we were kids, and they control how we instinctively react to pressure today, whether we even know it's happening or not. And right there, you see the massive conflict. On one hand, you've got the mind that's just looking for comfort. It's going to bend reality to fit what it already believes, and it will do anything to avoid pressure. But then, on the other side, you've got the mind that's built for success, and it does the exact opposite, right? It questions everything to get to the truth. It actually uses pressure to grow, and it's always working to rewrite those old, unhelpful patterns. Okay, so if our default wiring is a problem, what do we do about it? How do we fix it? Well, Tony's answer is actually really simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. He says it all starts by changing the questions we ask ourselves. And this is the core principle behind it all. Whatever you focus on is your reality, period. If you focus on what's wrong, what you're missing, what you're afraid of, guess what? That becomes your entire world. And questions? Well, questions are the steering wheel. They're the most powerful tool you have to direct your focus and literally shape your life. So the real challenge for you, for all of us, is to find that hidden question, the one your future self is hoping you figure out sooner rather than later. It's the one question that just slices through all the noise and forces you to zero in on what's possible, not what's holding you back. At the end of the day, it's this simple. The quality of your life comes down to the quality of the questions you ask most often. If you ask a crummy question like, why does this always happen to me? You're going to get a crummy answer. But if you ask an empowering question like, okay, what can I learn from this? Or how can I use this to get stronger? You're going to get empowering answers. And those answers are what lead to a totally different life. Okay, so understanding all this is one thing, but how do you actually use it? Especially in those moments when you're feeling stressed out or overwhelmed or just plain scared. This is where we get into the practical stuff, the actual toolkit for taking back control. And here's a critical point. You can't just think your way out of a bad feeling. It doesn't work that way. Before you can think straight, you have to change your emotional and your physical state. Your body and your mind, your physiology and your focus, they are completely connected. And the process for doing this is super simple, but it is so powerful. Step 1, you got to notice the negative pattern while it's happening. Just become aware of it. Step 2, interrupt it. Do something to physically break that pattern. Step 3, the second you do that, you ask a better, more empowering question. And finally, step 4, you use that new question, that new focus to shift yourself into a peak state. So what exactly is this peak state we're talking about? Well, you know that feeling of being totally in the zone? That's it. It's when you have complete clarity. You've got drive, you've got momentum, and you're making decisions from a place of strength and confidence, not from fear. It's basically the optimal state for being your best at anything you do. And, mastering your inner world isn't just about feeling good for a few minutes. It's about getting to the ultimate prize, having real freedom and true control over where your life is headed. When you do this, it causes this massive shift in how you see everything. See, most people are just a product of what's going on around them. Life happens, and they react. But the whole point of this framework is to flip that script, so you stop reacting and you start creating. You become the architect of your own life. And this really gets to the core of how Tony defines success. It's not about the money, it's not about fame. True success, he says, is the ability, the skill to build a life on your own terms, no matter what's happening in the outside world. And that brings us full circle, right back to the most important idea in this entire conversation. If you remember one thing, let it be this. Your focus is everything. It is your most valuable asset because it literally creates the reality you experience every single day. So, we end with a question, but this one's for you. Knowing everything we just talked about, that your focus creates your life, that your questions steer your focus, and that you have the power to change your state in an instant, the only thing left to ask is, what are you going to create?